Hello, my name is Jon Allred, and I did a book review over the autobiography of George Muller. Great read. I encourage everyone to pick up a copy. The book basically starts off telling us he's born in 1805 in Kroppenstadt, in the Kingdom of Prussia. His dad was a tax collector, very worldly, nominal Christian, very hard on him. Had a plan for George's life before George could ever even grow up. Wanted him to actually be in the ministry, but not for the sake of Jesus, but for the sake of money, for the sake of comfort. Really just had no evidences of being a Christian, his father. None at all. So his mother died when he was very young. He was about 14 years old, and mother passed away. His brother was always kind of at odds with him. They didn't get along just because of, I guess they're both going through the same things with their family, and then of course George ends up getting saved, his brother doesn't. But he goes through a very hard stage of debauchery and drunken revelries and parties and doing his own thing, and the book kind of explains that for a while. He goes to prison because he goes on this long road trip. They called it a pleasure trip, and ends up not paying hotel bills, so the owner calls and has him arrested while he's in the incarcerated in the prison, and he's got time to think. So God starts working on his heart. He tells his dad when he gets out, I want to go to theological school. He goes to this theological school called Nordhausen. He runs into a man named Beta, has a profound impact on his life, graduated with honors from Nordhausen, goes to a University of Halle, does really good at University of Halle, but this is where his life changes. He runs back into Beta, but Beta now is backslidden. He's a Christian. He's just kind of off the beaten path, the narrow path, and they do a few worldly things together, parties, and they both come to an agreement that this wasn't the life that they wanted, either one of them, and that George was tired of running, doing this world thing, and Beta he knew better and knew what the answer was. So he said, "Hey George, let's go to a Bible study of a friend of mine." So they went to a Bible study, and they heard scripture. They heard the singing of hymns, and they heard and participated in the debating of prayer, long prayer. So it was through these little small group Bible studies that God started to change George Muller's life. He met a guy one night there as his name was Brother Kaiser, is how he called him in the book, and he heard the man pray, and that really just impacted George's life. He said, this guy's got something different than I got, and I've got all the education in the world. I don't have this. So God, he says, that night worked grace in his heart. So he got saved that night, and over the months to come, he started reading missionary biographies. Told his dad and brother, I'm going to be a missionary. Well, they hated him. They were angry. He moved away to Teignmouth, a little province area, and became a pastor there. Married a lady named Mary Groves. They got married, had success there. Declined the salary after a while. Declined the salary and just put out a little box and said, donate money. And then he went to another church. He did the same thing, declined the salary, and said, I'll put a little box out all hours of the day, all days of the week. You can come put donations in here. That's how he lived his life. We know George Muller primarily, though, because of Bristol, England, what he did there. After he left the work that he was doing there in Teignmouth, he went to Bristol, and he opened up the Ashley Down Orphanage, where he, over the years, 30 plus years, saw over 10,000 orphans come through, where he taught them spiritual, just the Bible. He taught them how to pray, taught them Jesus. He taught them economics. He talked to them about social things, history. He taught them a trade. He tried to prepare these young children, and he also started 117 day schools. Programs for over 120,000 students came through those 117 day schools, and he also created an institution called the Scriptural Knowledge Institution for Abroad and Home, And basically this was an institution that provided Bibles and tracts, gospel tracts, to missionaries, churches, Sunday schools, and schools all over the world. His profound impact is amazing. He had some different viewpoints on money and about funding ministries. It was an issue, I guess, with me. Kind of conflicted as I read that, because the way that he says it is that you know, you don't have to ask anybody for money. You don't have to go in debt, which is great. We understand the debt part. You shouldn't have to go into debt. But he thought all debt was unscriptural, so he would think that a mortgage was unscriptural. If you owed a creditor that, you had a lien on your mortgage. But he also thought that even just telling a brother that you needed money for a ministry was unscriptural. He felt that if he wanted everybody to know, that was his main thing, that, and in fact it's a quote and I'll read directly from it, that he said, "I began all the work that I did to show the world and the church that God in heaven hears and answers prayer." He would often be praying for the needs, and he knew that God answered the prayers of that day and met the needs of that day, and that's all you should expect. And so he had a profound prayer life. He would be sitting at the table, they would need food. Somebody would break down with a buggy outside, you know, full of food. I mean, he would just pray and things would happen. Just crazy things. And so he lived his life that way, and he wanted everybody to see, those who were weak in faith, that you could be made strong through a right relationship with God, through prayer and depending on Him. I encourage you to get him a copy of the book. You'll love it. It has definitely changed my life. Blessings.